Long-blooming perennial flowers. Achillea will grow almost anywhere, but it favors dry, lean soil. If given too much moisture or rich soil, the plants can become floppy. Deadhead spent flowers for repeat bloom. After the second bloom, rejuvenate the plant by cutting back to new growth. Yarrow tends to die out in the center of the plant and should be divided every 3 years or so. There are many species of Campanula or Bellflowers, all easy to grow and relatively long-lived. They perform best in areas with cooler summers. Where summers are hot, give them some partial shade. Most Bellflowers will readily self-sow. If they start to look tired and ragged after several blooms, shear or mow them down to a few inches and they will grow back fresher. Liatris are easy to grow and texturally unusual. The thin, spiky leaves jut off the stems all the way to where the rosy purple flower spikes begin. Unlike most spiky flowers, Liatris blooms from the top down. Liatris can handle just about any soil, but the richer the soil, the more likely they'll need staking. They'll grow in full sun or partial shade. Liatris is long-lived and doesn't often require division. They will self-seed, but generally don't take over. Most people think of Nepeta as catnip, Nepeta cateria, a somewhat weedy garden plant. But there are many excellent ornamental Nepetas that will bloom throughout the summer if deadheaded. Most have some shade of blue lavender flowers and gray foliage. They are very drought tolerant and make a nice substitute for lavender, in areas where lavender won't thrive. Although not as attractive to cats as catnip, you may still find a cat or two rolling around in your plants. Rudbeckia is at home everywhere, and many are native to various parts of North America. They prefer well-drained, somewhat lean soil and full sun. Deadheading will prolong bloom and cut Rudbeckia flowers will last a long time in water. With their flat landing pad petals, they are attractive to butterflies, and the seeds will be eaten by the birds during the winter. Relatively long-lived, Rudbeckias can be easily multiplied by division. Scabiosa is a unique-looking plant with a low-growing rosette of narrow leaves and a profusion of gangly stems topped by pincushion flowers. They are relatively easily grown in average soil and full sun. Deadheading is a must for long bloom and general appearance. Divide plants every 3 to 4 years. You can also root the secondary stems you will see coming from the base of the plants. The taller sedums are unparalleled garden performers. Sedum Autumn Joy is a near-perfect plant, looking good through 4 seasons. Sedum flower buds are attractive long before they are fully in bloom and long after they have gone to seed, so there is no need to deadhead. They thrive in well-drained soil and full sun. If your plants tend to flop, they can be sheared back in early summer to form a bushier, sturdier plant. Sedums can go years without division but can be propagated by stem cutting. Once the plant begins to thin out in the center, a division is necessary. Tradescantia doesn't get much respect, probably because they can become a bit aggressive. However, they will readily bloom in partial shade and can be easily controlled by pulling young plants or by crowding them in with other plants. They have somewhat grassy-like leaves with clusters of 3-petaled flower heads. Each flower lasts only 1 day, but there are so many buds the bloom period is quite long. They prefer cool, moist soil and full sun, but will accept partial shade in exchange for the cool soil. Veronicas start blooming in the spring and keep going through to frost. The genus includes a broad range of plants, but Veronica spicata is the most popular in gardens. The low-growing dense foliage gives rise to narrow flower spikes in blues, reds, pinks, whites, and purples. Deadheading will keep them going all summer long. Drought-tolerant, Veronica likes a well-drained soil. Centranthus is often seen spilling over borders, in photos of English gardens. Like Yarrow, Centranthus prefers dry, lean soil, but it blooms longer in cooler climates. In the intense heat, it will bloom in spring and again as it feels up to it, throughout the summer. Centranthus rarely grows true from seed and is best propagated by cuttings. To be certain of what color you are getting, buy the plant while it is in flower. The plants don't live longer than about 5 years, and they resent being divided or even relocated. Coreopsis are undemanding plants, but short-lived. Either allow them to self-seed or divide the plants every 2 to 3 years and replant the newer, outer sections. Flower buds form all along the stems, making deadheading a time-consuming challenge. Once the initial buds have completed blooming, you must shear the plants back by 1/3 to encourage new flower buds. The ferny foliage and delicate flowers of Corydalis belie its fortitude. This is a plant that prefers partial shade and well-drained soil and will find a home in cracks in rocks, on slopes in woodlands and along paths. Once established, Corydalis self-sows wherever it can. However, it can take years for the seed to germinate, so starting your own plants can be frustrating. While most Dianthus have a long natural period of bloom, many will rebloom with some deadheading. Several varieties are also evergreen and make nice edging plants. Dianthus does well in any well-drained soil, though it prefers a slight alkalinity. They don't tend to live very long and should be divided or seeded regularly. Unlike the common bleeding heart Dicentra spectabilis, cultivars of the fringed species will repeat bloom for most of the summer. Dicentra formosa is a western native. While Dicentra eximia can handle the heat and humidity of the eastern U.S., the fringed bleeding hearts are smaller plants than Dicentra spectabilis, and the flower is not as pronounced a heart shape, but the gray-green ferny foliage and abundance of flowers make it a prize. Most self-seed. Having a long bloom period is just one of Echinacea's many attributes. Coneflowers are extremely drought-tolerant, attract birds and butterflies, and the intense color adds punch to any garden. The tall stalks are self-supporting. However, if they receive too much water, they become floppy. They require good drainage and full sun. Deadheading will prolong the bloom period. Although Echinacea is slow to spread, the division is the best way to get the cultivar you want. The seed heads can be left on through the winter and will provide a treat for neighborhood birds. These flowers are like daisies on caffeine. Gaillardia's yellow petals around a burgundy center are impossible to ignore in a garden. All they ask is full sun, and they will keep on blooming all summer. Too much shade and the stems begin to flop. In most cases, deadheading is not necessary for continual bloom. However, it would make the plants look tidier by comparison. Gaillardia is another short-lived perennial and should be divided or seeded often. The spiky, bottle-brush flowers of Nepeta are beacons for hummingbirds. Although they look like tough customers, Nepeta actually requires a bit of winter protection in cooler zones. They are also a bit fussy about liking moist conditions in the summer, but well-drained soil for the winter months. Full sun is necessary for ample blooms. Nepeta does not divide or transplant well, although you can usually get away with removing and replanting the young side shoots of the plants. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more interesting videos. And please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm.